As an elder and old crow in the Yukon, Lorraine Natro is a keeper of traditions and apparently the woman with a front row seat to the future. Because look at that, right outside her living room window, an ambitious solar project, a solution to a problem that plagues the North.
What do they offer you here?
They offer us clean energy. We've always been diesel reliant. We live in the Arctic, so in the summertime, in the summer months, we have 24 hours of daylight. And so this is really the perfect opportunity.
This is in your front yard, right? These solar panels. This is not natural. This is not a natural part of the landscape.
It took some getting used to. I look out my front window and this is what I see. The solar project right on our berry patch. We had to make that decision as elders in this community and how are we going to be part of this solution. When they were turned on this past spring and I felt a sense of pride. And blueberry.
Is it any wonder? Because through a climate-conscious lens, there is an uncomfortable reality here. Like all off-grid northern communities, Old Crow relies on diesel, which is flown in several times a year. Fuel burned just to bring in more fuel. The emissions produced from using all that diesel equivalent to 500 transatlantic flights a year. And the constant low hum that's been the community's soundtrack for nearly 50 years. But when the solar panels turned on this summer, the generators turned off for the very first time. That means a saving of 189,000 liters of fuel over a year. Doing their bit to combat climate change is more than an altruistic act. It's as urgent as the long worried hunters now readying to go up the mountain. Up there, on the range, the porcupine caribou herd have finally been spotted. Inexplicably late, arriving here in curiously smaller numbers, but to be seen at all, a relief. Charging ahead, Old Crow's Deputy Chief Paul Josie, a dad and hunter anxious about what climate change is doing to the landscape. Sometimes simple but devastating shifts.
See where the caribou kind of come down this way.
I guess if you've got a big caribou snout, it's easier, right?
And their hooves.
Digging around for snow-buried lichen, the caribou's crucial food. Problem is, when the weather's warmer, rain or wet snow forms ice on top of it.
So if the ice forms over the lichen, then the caribou can't get it, eh?
Well, right now they got so much snow to remove and that burns energy. And then they hit that layer of ice.
Yeah.
And then they got to break the ice just to get to the plants.
So it's not worth it for them.
It's harder because they're trying to conserve as much energy.
Food blocked by ice can steer them away from these grounds. So can this willow shrub choking the trails. This may be part of why the caribou's patterns seem to be shifting.
Climate change, a lot of water is coming down and it also dries up, but there's also a lot of growth because we have longer periods of warmth.
Yeah.
And a lot of the soil's got a longer active layer, so the willow just grows rapid and grows thicker. It's taking up a lot of nutrients. Like animals can get through it, but not easily, that they'll try to avoid it and that changes their path.
And that shrub is everywhere, crowding out needed berry patches. Some berry harvests were thin this year after a record-breaking hot, dry summer. The apparent effects from a shifting climate visible mountainside and in the exceptionally low riverbeds. The Chinook and chum salmon haven't returned in needed numbers. The warmer, wetter winter conditions leading to more permafrost thaw, drained lakes and slides known as thaw slumps. This land is struggling. Enough that Old Crow became among the first Indigenous communities to declare a climate emergency in 2019, which means anxiety for those who live here about food insecurity and what may be next.
And when that's on the ground, then it freezes over, it covers.
At a camp on the mountainside, elders like Lorraine and young leaders talk of the future. Regardless of what the rest of the world does, Old Crow has made a promise to be carbon neutral by 2030.
But I do believe that in the future, like, this is the only fighting chance that we have, because like the reality is you won't be able to depend on gas forever. Like, everybody knows that, and losing my train of thought with the shots.
It's such a good sound. Faint pops of gunshots in the distance entirely change the mood. They know the hunters have succeeded.
You know that we still practice our way of life, and the land is our teacher.
Absolutely.
And just hearing those shots, it's really emotional.
Yes.
Preserving their traditions takes work and ingenuity in a shifting climate. So Old Crow is gathering data on wind power to get through the dark winters. Even that annoying willow shrub happens to be an excellent biofuel. Determining how to harvest it is the next project. And if they can make it all work, just maybe the diesel generators will soon turn off entirely.
We're just trying to make these changes to start a ripple effect, that we can make these changes, a small little community up in the north, to make these big changes that we could try and make our difference and our impact.
So this is sinew.
Mary Jane Moses, who was so emotional at the sound of those shots, is so calm at home working with the meat.
Is pride the right word to describe how you might feel about your community and the innovations?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, really. I hope that when people see this on TV, that they get motivated to make change in their community, and good changes, and so that we can adapt to climate change and still practice our way of life.
This is the balance they want, and it takes effort from everyone. Those who hunt feeling responsible for making sure all of Old Crow eats this summer, knowing the herd may be here only fleetingly. Whatever they gather, they share. Good news for the ravens, too.
Fills my heart with joy. You know, I got 3 grandsons, and they like the taste of caribou and moose, and there's certainly going to be chow in tonight, that's for sure.
From high above the Arctic Circle, a community leading the way for all. Adrienne, Arsenault, CBC News, Old Crow.